Aang is having a nightmare. He's being haunted by visions of the past. His old mentor and guardian, Monk Gyatso, asks him why he disappeared. Aang replies that he didn't mean to, but is further lost in the nightmare as a huge storm forms around himself and Appa, and they then crash into the ocean below. Team Avatar has to go shopping again. As they arrive in a nearby shipping town, an old fisherman has an argument with his wife. He wants to go fishing, but she's telling him that, despite the clear skies, a huge storm is coming and that it's too dangerous. Unwilling to listen, the old fisherman declares that he'll just hire someone in her stead and pay them double. Sokka immediately volunteers. Team Avatar is running low on funds. Now in contact with the group, the old fisherman pieces together that Aang is the Avatar and immediately lashes out at him for turning his back on the world. Katara steps in to defend Aang, but it's already too late. Aang is clearly deeply impacted by the accusation and jumps into the air and flies away on his glider. Sokka and the old fisherman head out to sea. Horrible clouds are forming on the horizon, and it quickly begins to rain. Katara finds Aang in a cave, and he begins telling her about his past. Aang used to be just another among the many airbending students at the Southern Air Temple. He's shown playing with his peers, although it's clear that his bending is on a different level. Then he's called in front of the leadership of the temple, a collection of monks. They inform him that he's the Avatar, which they've known for a long time because of the toys that Aang chose to play with when he was a child. Usually they would have told him only after he turned 16, but external forces are getting them to hurry the process along. We know that that's because of the upcoming war, but Aang had no idea. Aang doesn't know how to react to this information, but becomes visibly unhappy when his friends begin treating him differently. Only Monk Gyatso remains the same. But then that's pulled into question as well, as the other monks want to get Aang started on his Avatar journey as quickly as possible, while Gyatso wants to give him a regular childhood. This creates conflict within the leadership that escalates to the point that the other monks decide to separate Aang from Gyatso. In response, Aang runs away on Appa, gets caught in a storm, and turns Appa and himself into an iceberg. Aang ends his story by restating the claim of the old fisherman, that he turned his back on the world and ran away. But Katara disagrees. She tells him, had he stayed, he would have just gotten killed alongside the rest of the airbenders. It was meant to be. The world needs him now. He gives people hope. This resonates with Aang, and he calms down. Then the wife of the old fisherman shows up and tells them that her husband and Sokka are both trapped out at sea in the middle of a horrible storm. Aang and Katara then go rescue them. Elsewhere, during the early stages of the storm, Zuko gets into an argument with his crew. Iroh manages to defuse it only moments before a dangerous escalation, and then decides it's time to tell the crew about Zuko's past. Zuko, Prince of the Fire Nation, is eager to help and participate. He insists on joining a war meeting in front of the Fire Lord. Iroh lets him, on the condition that he stays quiet. But as the generals lay out plans to sacrifice a platoon of new recruits for tactical advantage, Zuko loudly interrupts, calling such a sacrifice a betrayal. Fire Lord Ozai is a black 4-mana 4/4. Whenever he attacks, we may sacrifice another creature. If we do, we add red mana equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and we get to keep that red mana until the end of combat. Fire Lord Ozai is a ruthless and sadistic man. He would not think twice about sacrificing his allies for a brief burst of power, or a minor advantage. Even for an advantage he doesn't know. As for 6 mana, we can exile the top cards of each of our opponent's libraries. Until end of turn, we can play one of those cards without paying its mana cost. He makes us burn our allies, turn them into fuel, to conquer our opponents, without even knowing for sure what we'll gain. Iroh explains that Zuko was right, but it wasn't his moment to speak out, and as such, there were dire consequences. Zuko was forced into an Agni Kai, which he thought would be against the general he interrupted. But because Zuko did so in the Fire Lord's chamber, it was the Fire Lord who he had disrespected. In the arena, he found himself standing in front of his own father. Zuko begged for mercy, telling his father that he only wanted to help, but Ozai's cruelty knows no bounds. He tells his son, "You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher." And then he inflicts a permanent, huge scar on Zuko's face. Ozai's cruelty is a black 3-mana sorcery lesson. It deals damage to target player and forces that player to discard 2 cards. In Magic, we are wizards casting spells from our library of knowledge. The cards in our deck are spells we know but don't have readily available, while the cards in our hand are our immediate thoughts. The deck and hand are also often portrayed as our mind and memory, and cards that either discard or mill are ones that invoke insanity or amnesia. Ozai's cruelty is a discard spell, but also a lesson. It teaches by lowering the cognitive abilities of its victim, by inflicting trauma. It provides nothing of value, it only harms. The same as it did to Zuko.